Hello guys, and welcome to another video. It's been some time, I'm afraid. Work commitments, life commitments, everything else getting in the way. But we're here back with another video, and it's something quite different and quite special this time. This is the next project, as if I needed another project. I've got a container full of bikes, which are half finished. But anyway, I've been wanting for some time to get my hands on a recumbent trike, tadpole trike, and particularly a fat recumbent. Now these are quite difficult to get hold of for a reasonable price, but you have to wait on eBay, Gumtree, all of the selling sites for some months before they come on, and very rarely do you get one that's a good example. However, this one was an incredible price, and a very special guy selling it, whom I shall tell you a little bit more about in another video, but suffice to say, this was a pretty unique custom vehicle he's put together here. This is actually a Trident Terrain 26-inch fat trike. That's a standard model they sell. Trident are a US based company, but they have franchises in Europe, and the nearest one to the UK is in the Netherlands. Used to be in Rotterdam. I think they're based up north now. But anyway, he imported this from the dealer in the Netherlands. This originally was a fixed non-suspension model, and that's how it comes as standard. And it was also a non-power assisted, non-electric version. Now we have a Bafang mid-drive kit here with a custom battery in actually a very sensible position. You'll notice on this trike there's pretty significant ground clearance there, which is perfect for the kind of riding that it's designed for, really snow, sand predominantly. And if you were to use a trike on double track that's a bit lumpy, then this would be perfect because you've got sufficient clearance. But this one does have Trident's own, I believe, it's kind of a prototype front suspension arrangement, which I need to learn more about, but basically it's two coil shocks, adjustable coil springs, which are effectively attached to this, not linkage, you've got steering linkage there, you can see, but they're attached to a whole kind of block which contains a mechanical disc brake caliper and is then connected to this front beam, which is connected to the chassis. And then we've got obviously these vertical handlebars connected via two stems to this shock absorber arrangement. So it's something I'm very green to, no pun intended, which I will need to learn about, and which I will endeavour to adjust and refine to make the trike handle as it needs to. But anyway, this is, again, no ordinary Bafang kit. It's not a 250 watt pedal assist kind of standard version. This is actually a 1400 watt motor, which probably will give you some clues as to what kind of user previously owned this. And again, I will get into more detail on that guy in the next video. Very interesting guy, very skilled guy that's put this together. It's a very interesting story, but one for another day. And mated to this 1400 watt Bafang mid-drive kit is a custom battery. That's actually an aluminium case, but in there I think you've got about 78 Panasonic cells making up a custom 15 amp hour battery, and it's a 48 volt unit. So I think, I can't remember exactly what that is, but it's about 720, 730 watt hours, so that's a very large battery. But when you consider that's a 1400 watt motor, it needs to be a large battery. You do have pedal assist settings. This wasn't working very well earlier, but yeah. Anyway, there's pedal assist settings there. So you've got 1 to 5. And again, we will come back to the previous owner on another video, but there is a throttle there. So it's obviously completely road illegal, but this won't be used on the road, so that's fine. Not much into throttles myself, but that could be useful for future videos if you want to have some fun and games. Yeah, so we've got two 4-inch tyres on the front. We've got a 4.8-inch tyre on the back, which on a video it might look slightly different, but in the flesh I can tell you it does not look like a 4.8-inch tyre. That it looks a lot narrower, but that probably gives you some idea about the scale of this thing. It is absolutely enormous. In fact, with the standard arrangement here, you can see you've got plenty of clearance there to go even fatter. What I need to do next is find someone that does a 5-inch tyre. I'm sure there are available products, and that actually, which surprisingly fits in very nicely, is a Kawasaki motocross mudguard, which does a perfect job of obviously keeping all the crud off of the seat, which is a custom seat, not manufactured by Monster again, but the previous owner did have obviously quite a fondness of the Monster brand. So there you go, there is the new project. Plenty to do to this over the next few weeks and months, and we will be doing some really interesting videos on this, particularly some beach riding. I've got some big plans for a big 100-mile beach ride in the Netherlands, for which I think this would be perfect, but I do want to make a few modifications to it. First and foremost, I need to shift that battery forwards so that I can then move the boom forward into my seating position. That's the first thing. The suspension needs stiffening up. It's very, very wallowy at the front end. It moves all over the place, so I need to do something with that. I need to probably hook up a speed sensor as well. You can see that cable there isn't being used currently. To be honest, obviously I've got a GPS and I've got a Garmin watch as well, which gives me my speed, but it'd be quite nice to have the speed readout on the Bafang display there. And another thing that will get changed pretty much straight away is we've got an old Shimano Revo shifter there, grip shifter. Not a big fan of those, to be honest. If you're going to be using the power assist, pedal assist, sorry, it's not going to really come into play that much, particularly on flat surfaces, but I do want to change that for a standard shifter. I've got a 9-speed, which leads me on to the next thing. Currently on the back here, on this wheel, we've got a freewheel arrangement, which is, as they usually all are, mated to a 7-speed. Which I'm not a big fan of. I'd rather stick a cassette on there, which means I need to change the wheel. But thankfully, if you follow me over here, this weird and wonderful arrangement is another part of the big plan for this bike. We've got a much wider rim here. I haven't measured it. I suspect it was probably 100mm. And we've got a cassette on there, so that is compatible with cassettes. I may make that to something with a much bigger granny gear than what we've got there. But then we have this actual part from Trident Trikes. This is a standard part which they provided with this bike. This isn't. This is a bespoke machined part that was made by the previous owner, and this is an air shock that was procured by the previous owner as well. The idea is that we can turn a currently fixed rear wheel arrangement into a suspended rear wheel, which will give us a full suspension fat trike, which if you were to go to someone like Ice or Azub or even Trident, who have a more expensive model than the Terrain, you'd be spending a minimum of £5,000. That's £5,000 UK, maybe $6,000–7,000 US. So hugely expensive, and this was, I can tell you, an absolute fraction of that. So with this arrangement here, again with such a wide rim, you can see the mammoth clearance on that, so we can get probably a 6-inch tyre if you actually had the inclination to do that, and if there even existed such a thing. So that'll be the next part, to work out how I'm going to do this. This needs rubbing down and painting. This arrangement will essentially fit onto this part here, and then your shock sits between them. So that's an adjustable air shock. I think you've probably got about 40 or 50 mil of travel on there. That's more than enough on something this size with such huge tyres as well. So yeah, plenty to be getting on with, but this thing is absolutely awesome. In the next video we'll have the boom adjusted. We'll head down to the local beach and we'll take some footage showing you what it's like to ride, some of the issues at the front with the tracking and the slightly wallowy feel at the front end, and just give you a bit more of a plan as to what's going to happen with this thing and where we're going to take it. Got some plans to ride on snow as well, so it's going to be probably coming in the back of the van and going somewhere in Europe. I should also say this has got mechanical brake disc switch. To be honest, with sand and snow riding, it's absolutely fine. You're not going to be doing anything too gnarly, and yeah, it's pretty much going to be quite tricky to switch out this integrated brake disc kind of kingpin arrangement, I believe it's called, for a hydraulic one. I don't think there's any need at the moment. So yeah, there we go. There we have it. There's the somewhat bespoke Trident Trike's Terrain model electric fat trike with a 1400 watt motor, pedal assist and throttle options. I think it's absolutely brutal. I think it's going to be wicked, but I'd really appreciate your comments, your thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you feel. Be good to get some reaction, good to get some comments. If you've got a trike like this, or if you've ridden a trike like this and you know some of the issues associated with them, then please feel free to comment. Be cool to get to know some of you out there who have got something like this and who've experienced a machine like this. Anyway, signing off for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.